The week of June 8th, 2016, I received a letter from the Ironwood Board of Education. I contacted Mr. Radovich, and I asked him, I don't know if anybody else had received this letter. I explained to Dave the two boards to meet together, they cannot do that because they wanted to meet with no public and no administration, and I said that is illegal, we cannot do that. I asked Dave to respond, stating that we would meet with 2 of our board members and we will only meet with our administrator. Dave set up a meeting for August 4th. We gave him several dates that when we were available to meet at noon, and it was with Beth Steiger, Dave Radovich, and myself, and we met with 2 of the members from Ironwood School Board, which was Steve Thomas and Ned Ricker. Tim Colasar was not invited. I had handed out to all the board members, did you guys get this? This is kind of a result of getting together for this meeting. I had asked Dave to get some information together. Part of the letter, did you guys receive a letter too? I don't know.
Yeah, we all did.
Okay.
You didn't get a letter from the Ironwood Board?
Okay, I attached a copy of that to this too, so you guys have that. They had also given us a copy of all their, I'm not going to read the whole thing of what they said, but it had to do with schools consolidation. They also gave a copy of their class schedules, or the classes that they offer. So I asked Mr. Radovich to get that information together. What I found interesting is we actually do offer a lot more things to our students than Ironwood. Some of the things that they offer, if you guys go and look under, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just explaining, because we used to have some business classes back way before you, Mr. Radovich. Teacher here, and then we started getting into more college courses, and so we no longer offered those business classes or business managers, which you can actually take at the college for class credit. I thank the school because my son was one of those that received 12 credits as a high school student. It saved me 8 years worth of college. And if this was promoted more, he probably would have taken more and saved me 2 years worth of college. Well, and that's where the 5-year, the 5-year, what do you guys call it, the 5-year CTE?
Middle college.
Yeah.
That's more geared for CTE right now.
Yeah. Some of the other things that they offer that we don't are AP classes. Well, personally as a parent, I'd rather have my kid take college courses for credit that save me money versus AP classes. And I don't want to put you on the spot, Beth, but can you explain what? I don't know much about it.
They're called advanced placement, and normally how school works is they'll have a class that is more rigorous than a regular school class, and an instructor needs to do some special training, but then the credits are weighted. So for instance, if a student gets an A in say a regular class, they get a 4.0. If they get an A in an AP class, it may be 4.2 or 4.3. However, those credits cannot transfer into a college, whereas if you get credits from GCC or any other college through dual enrollment, those credits transfer into college then, and it saves the student time, it saves money for the parents, and it also, we retain those students for our student aid.
So one of the other things I compared is one of the things that we don't offer is immediate communications. They call it yearbook. Well, that's a Schedule B under our schedule, which actually saves our school money versus having a teacher teach that. So some of the other things that we looked at were also loss of community identity, extracurricular, and we have some phenomenal, we have Quiz Bowl. It's not just about sports. I think when people think extracurricular, they think sports, but we have the Science Olympiad. We're very, very successful. When you look at consolidation, some of those, you're limited to how many kids that can participate in those things. So we said no, that we were not in favor of consolidation. We also have a citizens committee that also has stated that they that no to consolidation, and so that's kind of where we left that.
The board voted against
Correct.
consolidation with them.
So one of the things towards the end, at the conclusion of our meeting on August 4th, which you guys have a copy of this email, was agreed that both districts needed to be on the same page with disseminating information at board meetings and or the newspaper. Mr. Thomas asked if I would do, which would be Mr. Radovich, a press release. Attaches the press release, the Bessemer will give the Globe and pick an axe. It will also be on the next board agenda. I hope you distribute the same press release, affording our district the opportunity to move forward and help create a successful partnership through caring and sharing. Because that was one of the things that we did talk about.
Yeah, I mean, if I can just kind of
Yep, go
add,
ahead.
I mean, their letter that they sent all the board was to talk about consolidation. At the meeting with the two board members, we talked about consolidation, and we went through all the things we've talked about why Bessemer, through the Citizens Committee, through the board, are not interested at that point. And the conversation quickly moved to talk about where could there be avenues to have things that we both mutually can benefit from around cost savings, around sharing of resources. We spent the majority of the meeting talking about those things. My impression of the meeting coming out was we were going to be working together to focus on the things we mutually agreed on, and have some opportunity going forward. However, after Dave sent that press release over, and it's been in the paper that that's not where Ironwood's coming from, that they're still focused on a consolidation.
Well, it was quite interesting because the only one that responded, because you sent it to the two board,
Yeah.
you sent it to the two board members.
Yes.
Tim was the only one that responded. And I found that quite interesting since he wasn't at the meeting and said all these things happened, but I do have a copy for both you
The
guys.
board didn't want Colasar there, right?
Ironwood's board did not
Ironwood board,
invite him.
That's what I meant, Ironwood's board, that,
I asked
they
them-
didn't want, that he was not invited.
I don't know, I asked in the meeting why he wasn't included, and the
They couldn't remember why.
board members couldn't remember why he wasn't invited. That was the comment.
Mr. Thomas said he made the motion, but you don't remember why he made the motion. Not that Mr. Tolster at the meeting.
And Mr. Colasar made comments to the newspaper
Yes,
when he wasn't even there.
correct.
Because what happened going forward to do some pairing and sharing type stuff, our suggestion to Mr. Radovich and the other two board members is Tim needs to be brought in.
Yeah.
Because
We
it's
set
not-
that meeting in October.
We were going
Correct.
to look to an October meeting to talk about sharing of resources was what we left the meeting with them on.
So,
With him involved.
yes.
But
because
clearly their interpretation was drastically
obviously if you
different.
read the paper, it's,
I just got back into town, so.
Oh.
Okay.
well, I was wondering if we were at the same meeting. This is the press release that we did send over that Mr. Radovich put together. To whom it may concern, on Thursday, August 4th, representatives from the Bessemer Area School District and the Ironwood Area School District met to establish a working relationship between the districts and brainstorm ideas such as common purchase of supplies, equipment, sharing staff, co-op programs, and extracurricular activities to save money and afford enhanced opportunities for kids. Many issues were discussed, including the pros and cons of consolidation. At the conclusion of the meeting, it was decided that it is not in the best interest of the students at this time for the two districts to consolidate. It was decided that a committee made up of representatives from each district will be formed to look at the sharing of staff and or programs with each district in the future. A preliminary meeting will be scheduled in October. One thing I do want to state that we do lack, and that's kind of what we're looking at with the new bond, is our industrial arts. Because even though in the high school level we can send them to the college, is it's actually no junior high. So that is something that we did talk about, and we are looking forward with the bond of bringing that back. So
Does Ironwood got an industrial arts right now?
For middle school, they just hired
There's
an
no way that
instructor.
they don't want to share?
no,
can't
well we
share?
asked that.
Yeah, okay.
Well, one of the things that's confusing, the board members said in one of their correspondence that their staff are all full-time and they could not share any staff members, but I think they missed a point. We would be also willing to share staff members with them if they were in a bind. But Mr. Colasar actually approached me, and he said right now that he would like to do some swap purchasing, particularly in paper, and he had 2 staff people he'd be willing to share with Bessemer immediately if we would do that. So that's where I'm confused, where the board is telling us that they have no staff members to share. Mr. Colasar told me at a previous meeting, actually it came up at a ISD meeting, that he has staff members he would share with Bessemer. So that's what kind of precipitated this whole meeting. Then let's talk and let's get this moving.
So we don't know right now basically where,
Oh, no, because there's no sense in meeting again.
Yeah, I
We're done.
mean, I just feel like we wanted to focus on areas of, you know, common interest and that where we were both on the same page. I don't think that that's what their purpose is, and I don't think there's any point in continuing meetings and conversations. If they want to focus on consolidation, our community's not looking at that. I will tell you, they walked into the meeting, they said, well, we have a plan, which is they can have the high school, they'll make this a junior high building, and the elementaries will stay where they are. I personally don't see any savings or point to doing that. And again, it's just a plan, right? We've all talked about how consolidation happens, that's just the plan.
In one of the last statements in one of the emails, they said that they will record all future meetings.
well, I hope so.
So,
But also one of the things they said that it was a misunderstanding for the public that says that we would not take on their debt. And I said, yeah, not the first year until it goes to a vote.
And Ironwood has more voters.
Correct. So this is information. Like I said, I do have this for the press. The comparison, this is the stuff that we'd asked Dave to put together, so when we went to the meeting.
So,
Sherry, I have a question of you pertaining to that.
Yes,
On their long-term debt, which is
I was just looking
7
at that.
times larger than ours at this time,
yes.
and goes far beyond when we have concluded, what percentage of that debt do we get? It's not 50-50, is it? Is it measured by homes? In
No.
other words, if we have a third of the homes, we pay a third of the debt.
the way I understand is the debts from both districts, which we would not have any, are combined and then it's spread out equally over all the taxpayers.
Overall, okay. So it would be something like that then. I mean, if we have 40% of the taxpayers and they have 60, because they're so much larger than us, then the bill would be spread that
But
way.
look at it this way, our 40% is debt that we don't have at all.
Correct, at this
We
point.
would incur 40% of their debt
Right.
that we don't have. Because if you read through this, our debt will be sunset in 2019 and theirs sunsets in 2029.
Nine.
Their argument, of course, would be that we're using the buildings that they took care of and fixed, and that's the reason they have the debt. I mean, that would be the argument. If I was their superintendent, that'd be what I would be arguing, is that Bessemer kids will get this in the event something happens. But that was just a question I had. I mean, we've always known their debt is very large compared to what we have that's about to be paid off.
But some of the things I found interesting when we looked at these and some of the comparisons that I'd asked Mr. Radovich to put together, percentage of our fund balance, we're at 9.6%. We are required by the state, I think people that have come to the meetings, you have heard us talk about our 5%, our 5%, our 5%. That's the threshold that we need to stay above, yes. So the state doesn't come in. Ironwood is at 2.1%. They have received an early warning letter. Our graduation rates, 13, 14, we were at 90% plus, they were at 75%. Rankings in the ISD out of 6 schools, we're at number 1, they're at number 3. We're at 66 in the state ranking, they're at 59 as a focus school. School of choice enrollment, 92, they have 25. Enrolled out, 23, they have 65. New students, we got 60.
Net students.
Oh, net students, sorry, thank you. Is 69 and theirs is minus 41.
One thing, I mean, that's really important, registered voters, we have like 2,800, they have 7,200, so you know where the vote is going to go.
Right, and that's not just the debt, that's the board,
Everything,
that is everything.
You know, that's an interesting figure when you look at the registered voters.
Yeah.
I mean, how big is Ironwood?
We got Iowa Township.
What's Ironwood,
Township.
Ironwood Township, so they
Iowa
must have, what,
Township.
9,000 people, but is that what we're
Irwin
talking?
Township, yeah, you're right, Irwin Township.
Because when you think of Ironwood alone, I don't think they're over 7,214 people, but you have the township.
Mhm.
So there's easily then 10,000 people living there.
Yeah,
So basically, that would be sort of the bill, 72% versus 28%.
yeah.
That'd be about it, when it was spread.
But the bottom line is you're gonna be paying debt on, I
Yes.
mean, we would be paying taxes on their debt.
Sure.
Well, and the other bottom line is, you know, the plan they came in with is to still use our buildings, which then we've spent no money in our buildings.
And we're
I mean,
gonna
our
have to-
plan that our citizens are working on are improving
Yeah,
our
our
building. I'd
buildings.
personally, I would rather spend that money here first.
And then, yeah.
Because the other reasons that we've gone through and we've talked about and we voted, there is no other reason at this point to pursue, that.
Well, their plan is actually gonna increase the cost of transportation, because you're going to be transporting Bessemer kids to Ironwood, Ironwood's kids to Bessemer. So now you're adding all these different bus routes, and you're increasing the cost of transportation.
And one of the things that Mr. Mayo, the superintendent of the ISD, agrees, if you're going to consolidate, you will not save any money. There will be an expense to the taxpayers, up and beyond what they're paying now. And one of the things that we haven't talked a lot about, Sherry alluded a little bit, is about the emotional part of it. I've been through 2 school districts that consolidated, and it's still in turmoil. I lived through consolidation when I was in high school in 1968, and there's still hard feelings between Mass City and Ontonagon. And talking to Kathy Shamian, there's still hard feelings between Marinesco and Wakefield. So the emotional part has not been addressed.
So, I guess my flavor for all that's transpired is that, there's no point to continue to talk about this. Unless they want to talk about
I just,
sharing of resources, I
Yeah.
think we need to move forward
I
and
just
not
feel
use
bad
our
about the
energy.
shop. I mean, that, if there's some way to share the shop, I mean, so that our kids
We
could.
did it.
We asked,
For
we
the
asked
junior high.
that for the junior high, we asked that.
And they just have, I mean,
Well, I
that's the only
think
thing
they're in the
I
process.
just
They've
wish
hired a
that would
new-
happen.
New lady, and she's not certified, so
She
they're
is
trying
not
to get
certified yet.
her certified somehow.
Oh,
So she's not even on board yet, so
Okay.
I think once the dust settles, that would be I would approach Mr. Colasar again.
okay. Okay.
Because that's always been an issue. We could never get
Find
anybody
a
to
certified, right.
Correct. The other thing is, this is not the first time that we've had these type of meetings. Back when Mr. Geis, when he came out of retirement, remember we had those
Yes.
meetings, and we were actually working with Ironwood, Bessemer, and Wakefield to try to do some shared things. That was when Joe Bauer was on the board, and it was the same thing, and finally,
And let me say this, we ended our discussions with them when they would not let the
That's
Nick and
based
young
off-
man be
Oh,
a
that's
member
the
of
accent, yeah,
Accent.
yeah,
That
They
was
would not-
supposed to be open for everyone.
that's
and
right.
He was not
You were-
allowed.
That's
I
right.
have a question. If they're looking to consolidate with us, why aren't they also including consolidation with Wakefield?
I don't
We
know.
asked that too, they didn't have an answer.
but we said no,
We said no multiple times.
yes. So, no more meetings. But I did want to bring this, because I didn't know who got letters. And because it is a personnel
Personnel.
type issue, and so, any questions? You can always call me later if you have questions. I know I just gave it to you tonight, but.
Okay.